Tonight's not about me. It's about one of our members, Justin Pearl. Come on up. Cool. So this is you. Tell us about you.
So about me,
Right up there on your chin.
I have been with Lifestyles 2.5 years now. Well, currently I'm a global sales director for a software company. Most days I like my job. About 4 months out of the year I don't care for it, but that's actually one of the reasons why I found Lifestyles. And the other reason how I found Lifestyles was I've got 3 buddies of mine, one here in Dallas, 2 down in the Austin area, that every time we'd get together, they would talk about this Lifestyles community and these houses and these apartments they were buying and all these crazy returns that they were having. And, you know, I was highly invested in the stock market at the time through an individual stock portfolio, 401k, all this stuff. So I was curious, let's talk about Tesla. Let's talk about Nike. Let's talk about some dumbass comment that a CEO made that made my stock portfolio drop by 5 to 10%.
So it wasn't because you thought it was a swingers club?
No. Well, first time I heard Lifestyles, that did come to mind. So glad to be a part of it now, by the way. So 2.5 years, friends, common friends that got me interested. And so when I came to listen to David on Cinco de Mayo in 2019, I sat right there where the Aggie is, and lucky chair. And it's changed our life so far. We've tripled our net worth in 2.5 years, and we're just getting started. So
give him a hand for that. Tripled his net worth. Yeah. And take that relative to whatever you started with. Whether you start with 50 grand or $500,000, triple that in a few years. That is life changing. That's huge.
Right. That's right. So
we're going to focus on one property in your portfolio. He has a small single family, and he's also passive in other multifamily deals.
Right.
But tell us about this one.
So this one is Stonely Drive. So most of my single family properties, I've got 8 doors now. Just sold one in Crowley, south of Fort Worth, if you're familiar. But most of my property is in San Antonio. For whatever reason, I've fallen in love with that market and continue to invest in San Antonio. This is one of them. For those of you that are familiar with San Antonio, this is down in the Delcrest neighborhood, kind of the southeast part of San Antonio. Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of hard to see the pictures, but she was a gem. Smelled horribly. A lot of bleach involved, I think, before I got there to try to hide some scents.
So if you're new, just so you know, the smell of money.
That's right.
Isn't bleach? It's cat pee. Okay, you got to remember that.
That's right. So the picture on the left of your screen, I think, yeah. So before and after, this renovation was for me and the 8 or so that I've done that I've done myself and been involved in. This one was an easier one in terms of kind of a textbook renovation, as I would say. Most, if there is such a thing as a textbook renovation, sometimes they don't turn into that. But the majors were fine. Foundation was fine. The roof, I think, was 3 years old from an insurance claim for some hail damage by the time I got it, so I didn't have to worry about that. Replaced the electrical panel. I think we on this one we changed out and upgraded the HVAC, but outside of that, it was purely cosmetic. I think a little bit of exterior work that we did was we converted the garage conversion back to a garage based on kind of some of the similar properties that in the neighborhood that had the garage. And then there was what once was a patio that they had enclosed in, put a couple of window units in there, and it was in bad shape. It was falling down, so we converted it back to a patio. And then from there, it was all interior. It's what you would do in anything: new flooring, paint, new countertops. And this one we did replace the cabinets because there was no use in painting over the existing ones that were there. So replaced the cabinets, and looks a lot better now than what it did.
Is it fair to say that rehab is property? Each one's going to be different.
Absolutely,
right? You've
is.
done a handful now.
Yeah. I mean, I've done anything from something simple like this to one that I've currently got going on to where, I think everything in the house, about 100-year-old house, everything in the house is brand new with the exception of the exterior wall. So we could have probably bulldozed it and started over. So they're all different. And to me, I love the big rehabs. bigger the rehab, the more value. In,
They get addicting,
in my
don't they?
opinion, they do. They get very addicting. I never thought that I would have as many single family properties as what I do now. But I heard a multifamily mentor in Houston, who I think is worth billions. I heard him make a comment one time that he said he was actually talking about multifamily and kind of the transition from single family to multifamily. But he made a comment that still sticks with me. He said, "Don't ever be afraid to overlook a great single family deal." And it seems like my goals. I've done these case studies before, and when it gets to the goals, I say I've got to scale. I've got to get to multifamily as quickly as I can, which is still a goal of mine today. But I seem to run into these great single family deals, and for whatever reason, I keep buying them. But it's lucrative. The returns have been fantastic.
You're a crack addict.
I'm a crack addict.
That's
They
the
are
problem.
addictive. They are addictive.
Well, let's take a look at the numbers here. Show us how well you did on this one.
The numbers, okay. And again, this was back in late summer of last year, so things have changed a little bit since then.
This was deep COVID time.
This was, in fact, my deals got better during COVID.
Counterintuitive, right?
Than they did.
That's real estate.
Than they did
100% counterintuitive.
prior to COVID. So this one I purchased for $85. At the time, it had appraised for $145. The rehab on it, which I talked a little bit about what we did, was about $29,000 on that one, through a couple of closing costs through hard money, and then refinancing out of that into to a conventional loan. I had just under $11,000 of various closing costs on that, and so my total cash out of pocket was just under $20,000. So if you see kind of that equity capture there, that yields about 103% return if I would have sold it at a value of $145,000.
Do you care that the bank made money?
I don't care at all.
Do you care that the bank made money 2 times?
I don't care I don't care how often the bank makes money.
Right?
It's exactly
You're
right.
making money 5 different ways on this.
Absolutely.
And going into it, you made 103%.
103% out of the gate. I leased it about 30 days after we finished the rehab. Finished this one right around the Thanksgiving holiday, so I kind of expected it would take a little bit of time to get it leased out. It took me about 30 days to do it. Leased it at $1,300 a month. I've since increased it. These tenants have been with me for about a year, so we had a rent increase last month. And so cash flowed $435 a month. So based on my 19.6 out of pocket, my cash on cash return is just about 27%.
See how excited it is?
Yeah.
See? Now, honestly, look at this. You got 100% when you bought it, 26% in the first year cash flow. What's that first year return? I'm really looking at 2 of the 5. What is that? Math? Come on, John. 130%. 130%, 1 year, and that's only 2 of 5 ways we make money.
And the cool thing about it is,
Are you excited yet?
I am excited. I know you can see it's beaming from me.
Exuding.
But what I love about it, about these five different ways, and of course, 2021 has been a great year for appreciation. So
Isn't that funny? The worst year in the world, like 2020, 2021, he's all happy. Aren't you out there dying of COVID like everybody else in life and losing your job and all that?
Yeah,
it's been good, right?
It's been a fantastic year. It's been a fantastic year financially for
we
me.
didn't put it up here, but we ran some numbers. Remember what you told me you could sell for now?
Yeah, if I sold it today, conservatively, it'd go for about $165.
So you've added another $20,000.
We got another $20,000 on top of that.
Remember that appreciation I told you about?
Yeah.
That's another 100%.
Another 100%.
But you know what sucks? He made me a liar. I said, "What's the average?" 30K, and he buys one for 20, right? He'd be okay with that.
He got you on the cash flow though.
Yeah, I know. Well, what did I say? 2 to 600. What's he making?
435.
Oh, yeah.
Right in there.
I've seen that.
Way to go.
So what's interesting when you talk about COVID and some of these deals being much better during COVID, when I first bought my first couple of deals, I would see the cash flows in DFW anywhere from $400 or $500 a month, and in San Antonio it was less than that, probably $250 to $350, something like that. But seeing deals in San Antonio now, they're cash flowing $600 a month.
Yep.
So for that kind of out of pocket or less, that's why I love San Antonio.
All right, so let's take a look at your portfolio as a whole. Now, one of the things I love about Justin is he doesn't go on this alone. When he's getting excited about a property, guess who he's contacting? His mentor.
That's right.
He follows the program, right? And doesn't matter what time of day it is, I typically text back.
Yeah. We have become good Facebook Messenger
Yep.
buddies 24 hours a day, it seems like. So
Yeah. And the smallest question, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The largest question, it might take a little bit longer to respond. Or
Right.
you might have to dig through it a little bit.
that's right.
But you know what? Look what it's done to you. You're making over 50 grand a year, passively.
Passively.
Yeah, it's like a $70,000 or $80,000 job. Give him a hand. That's huge. He gave himself a $50,000 raise. He didn't ask his boss for that.
And look at the equity. 2.5 years. Two and a
Yeah.
half years, and you've captured
600 grand.
600 grand in equity.
We're excited. Yeah, we're excited by that. We
can
sold.
tell. We can hear
I
it.
mean, you're
Oh,
jumping up and down.
We sold. I won't get too deep into this, but so we sold that Crowley property, which Michonne was the agent I worked with on that. How you
Oh,
doing,
Michonne
Becky?
over there?
Yeah.
Everybody, Michonne, stand up. You're one of my superstar agents.
That's right. So we sold that property back in late July, early August, and
Who knows where Crowley is? Anybody know?
just south of Fort Worth a
Okay.
little bit. So we I have 30 grand out of pocket on that, and my return after the return of the original investment of 30 grand given back to myself, I netted another 120 grand on top of that. And so we took that and we did 1031 exchange. David will teach you about that. And I know Luann was here. I don't know if she still is.
He wasn't going to buy it. He was hemming and hawing over that one. I don't know if I should buy it. Gas
Yeah,
out
I
of
was.
pocket's kind of high.
I was.
I went back and looked at those texts right before we met tonight. Wasn't sure if I was going to bring that up, but
Yeah.
I have to now.
Yeah, well, again, that's the reason why you lean on your training wheels over here, and they won't steer you wrong. So we had a 400% return or whatever it was on that, and then did a 1031 exchange.
Wait,
and-
did you hear how excited he sounded on a 400% return?
Yeah. So we did the 1031 exchange, which you heard David talk a little bit about, and I know he'll certainly go into much more detail this weekend. So did a 1031 exchange, and the bottom two on here, Blossom, which is a duplex in San Antonio, and Avila, which actually I bought from another member. Exchanged those, so basically turned one door into 3-door and turned $450 a month of cash flow into what'll be about $2,000 a month,
Not bad.
just from that single exchange.
Do you know what's funnier in this portfolio I see? There's a certain property that stands out to me. You know which one stands out to me?
I'm gonna say John Adams.
John, why does that one stand out to me?
You own on that
He
street.
had
I don't
one
know.
that
I
does.
own one on that street.
Yeah.
So I bought one on the same street, 607 John Adams. I paid 85 grand for it. I just put it in contract yesterday for 235,000. So he's good at this.
Yeah. So, and one thing I actually am excited about today was that about 4 hours ago we just closed on the sale of Arlington. So that
Okay.
one will fund tomorrow. So tomorrow's going to be a good day.
Big check.
I think, yeah, a
Big check.
little more cash.
See, one thing I teach you guys, it's very important. We want you to do this for yourself. We want you to make these numbers. We want you to make this money. But I love what he was bringing up. Don't do it by yourself. Form a team. He uses his mentor. He uses vendors. He uses that team. That's the whole goal. Don't try to do it on your own.
Yeah, that's to me the two biggest keys of being successful as a newbie is, one, just get the hell out of your own way. Allow yourself to be successful. You deserve it. And the second is, use the mentors. I worked with Chris for 2.5 years now. Connected with a couple of them in San Antonio, and obviously I'm still new. I'm only 2.5 years into this, but even on a couple of the ones that I've just acquired, I didn't even know what an estoppel certificate was. I hadn't heard that term until about 4 months ago, and it was one of the mentors in San Antonio that. Long story, but my point is that talk to these guys. That's what they're there for.
And if
And
you
they're-
come to
they're
my
there to make
seminar
you
this
successful.
weekend, remind me about the John Adams. I'll actually show you where I bought it and everything. Would that be cool? Because that's one that you see up here. So
Yeah.
I'll show the numbers on it.
No, I live here. I live here in Dallas. First property I bought, the Pasadena one, in Houston area, and then a couple here in Dallas, and I've seemed to make an investment home. Feel comfortable investing in San Antonio.
See, here's something very important for a lot of people. Most of you, because you're scared, want to buy right next to yourself. But as you gain more confidence, you go invest where it makes sense, live where you want to live. People watching, I have people from Hawaii watching. I have people from communist California watching. Do you think they invest in communist California? No, they buy in Texas and Georgia and Oklahoma. So buy where the numbers make sense. And Justin's proven that.
Yep.
All right. So lifestyles. How's it changed your life?
Well, so we've talked about the tripling of the net income, or the net worth. So to me, that's fantastic. And, you know, we're to the point to where we could retire my wife today if we wanted to. She loves her job. You know,
2.5 years. You broke the model.
And yeah, there you go. She loves her job, so she prefers to work for.
Because that $50,000 a year might be like a $70,000 or $80,000 job. Does everybody understand that?
Right.
So if you're a teacher, that would be enough just for that.
Right.
Understand?
Right. So we're there. You know, I never thought. I'm in my mid-40s. I never thought at 44 years old that I would be, comfortable at kind of seeing a light at the end of the tunnel of retirement.
Yeah.
You know, in 2-3 years from now, if not sooner. So
How old are you, Chris?
38.
That just upsets me.
I was 34 when I walked away.
I know. 34, he quit his job. Is that gonna happen?
yeah, that's awesome.
But isn't that awesome how
That's
you guys all
fantastic.
doing this?
Yeah.
It took me longer than you. I had to wait till I was older. I was dumber than you guys.
Well, I wish I'd have found lifestyles when I was 30 years old, being a much different.
Watch
position
this.
right now, so.
How many people in this room wish you found lifestyles 10 years earlier? Yeah, every
Absolutely.
hand goes up. 20 years earlier.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If you did 20 years earlier, you wouldn't have been born.
Sure.
But as I mentioned, I was heavily involved in stocks and whatnot, and just through the education from David and from Chris, it was clear. I think after day one of the 2 day, I was day two for me was just gravy. I was ready to sign and get it done.
I have a question for you, Jessica, because there's a lot of new people. Where's my new people? There's a bunch of new people, right? See all these new people here? They're here for the first time. Their friends brought them in here. Their neighbors brought them in here. They thought he was weird, right? Remember back when you were new and you were scared? You were, is this real? Is this fake?
Yeah. Yeah.
What advice would you give for these new people coming for the first time?
Well, as I mentioned, you've got to figure out, have whatever internal conversation with you that you need. You got to figure out a way to get out of your own way. As I sat here again, where John is, I was a little skeptical coming in, financially conservative by nature. So I was like, what kind of snake oil am I being sold today? And as I came to these case studies and I heard more and more stories, I thought to myself, I can't be the only guy in here that fails at this with all these resources around. And so that, to me, what allowed me to get out of my own way and just do the deal and know that I had a team behind me that was going to help me make the right decisions. And what I have found is that real estate for us, for my wife and I, has become the quickest and the safest route to get to where we want to be financially. And so I'm 100% now out of stock market. I cashed out 100% of my 401k. I cashed out, liquidated every stock that I had.
You drank
So
the Kool-Aid.
I drank the Kool-Aid. Glad that I did.
Drink Kool-Aid.
Glad that I did.
But it wasn't Kool-Aid, guys. It was Flavor Aid. Do your history.
So you retired your wife.
Retired.
If she wants to.
Retired
You
my
tripled
wife.
your
She
net
wants
worth.
to. Yep.
Who do you owe a big thank you to?
So, a lot of people
There's a couple folks
on this particular deal, and I tend to obviously go back to the same team on many of the deals that I do. But Trey Casareno in San Antonio, Greg Combs in San Antonio, who handles the showings and the leasing for me, the lifestyles agents, certainly mentors.
So, yeah,
right?
what he's saying is, because he lives up here, he couldn't show the house, rent it out. He just hired somebody, wrote a check. Who likes that idea? Don't make it a job, guys. Pay other people.
Yep. Longhorn Investments, hard money lender that I've used on most of the acquisitions that I've done. A&P Lending, who I've used on most of the conventional refinancing. CNC Insurance, I think somebody's here from CNC Insurance, John Alexander's the CNC rep that I work with. So great team, great vendors. For those of you that are new and thinking about joining and maybe haven't done your first deal yet, the vendors are there to help. They do quality work. Lean on your vendors. That's what they're there for, certainly.
Cool. Awesome. So obviously didn't do it alone. And now tell us what's next.
I just like you have pictures of Monopoly.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
We only talked about your single family. You're also
so I'm also in passive. I'm in a couple of passive deals. I don't know, something like 450, 500 units.
So Justin, really quick for the new people, that means you invest in apartments. You don't put the deals together. You just get checks in the mail. What areas did you invest in? Just here in Dallas, or where do you invest your different apartments? Just to give an idea.
I've got one here in Dallas, actually not far from Los Dallas, here in the Las Colinas area, and the other one is out in East Texas, in Tyler.
Okay.
Are the two that I'm in. I've got my eye on a couple of more that are coming up. Another one kind of here locally. Another one in East Texas, and there's so many great multifamily
Justin,
deals.
I don't know. Did you go to each of these properties and look at it or no?
I haven't. I've not even set. In
So
fact,
I
the
want
one
you to
that's here,
understand
this
that
is
when
the
we get the
closest I've been to it.
multifamily guy up here, people invest out of state all over. They never even go to the properties. They just want their check. Just so you understand.
Yeah, well, to that point, one of the last single family property that I got through that 1031 exchange was I don't know 2 or 3 months ago. I've seen pictures of it. I've not been inside of it yet.
You just like the numbers.
And it cash flows almost $600 a month right now.
Yeah.
So there you go. So what's next? That's what I was talking about. Every time I think about this and on past case studies I've done, it seems to be the same. Yet when I come back, I've got more single family properties than I ever thought that I would.
You gotta stop that.
Yeah, I know. I need to. So that's the short term.
I had to yell at this guy. Now he's yelling at me.
I'm not yelling at you.
Yeah.
I'm yelling at him.
So the next 12 to 18 months for me is as the some of these 8 single family properties, some of the kind of leases run out. My goal is to sell those off, liquidate those off, and I've got to get to IRO. I've got to own some of the smaller multifamily properties.
IRO,
myself.
just for new people, means independent rental owner. He wants to buy an apartment by himself with no partners. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right. Yeah, that's what I prefer. That's what's going to help me scale and get to where I want to be over the next 3 years. Certainly, I'll continue to invest passively with the great leads that are involved.
Cool.
That's been awesome so far as well. Long term, like I said, my wife could retire today if she wanted to, and in the next 3 years, I hope to be able to have the same experience myself and be able to walk away if I'd like, but. And again, just continue down the IRO path and acquire as much as I can and scale as quickly as I can.
Okay. You want to take some questions, Justin?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Fire away.
Anybody in the room have questions or online? Okay. Let me get a microphone. Is it on? I'm going to go ask a Star Wars chick. Hold on.
Hello?
Star Wars is better than Star Trek.
No, it is not.
It just is. You had several properties listed there. Can you tell us kind of how you found each of those?
Sure. All but the one that I just sold today was through an email blast from the agents, the Lifestyles agents, every single one of them.
And I'll explain what those are this weekend. You know that.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
Anybody else? There's one over that way. I don't want a dissertation on the dichotomy of man. Just ask questions.
I'll keep this down to something very simple. The property that you sold or traded, exchanged, what did you trade it into? More homes or apartment?
A duplex and another single family, so 3 doors.
So he turned 1 into 3.
And almost 6 figures of cash too.
That's
Let
right.
me get him,
Come
then
on.
I'll get you.
Tell the whole story.
That's right.
You have a question? Okay.
Given the craziness of the real estate market right now, have you had to plan in longer lead times for vendors like appraisals or inspections longer than normal?
Great question. The only not so much on appraisals. It seems like these hard money lenders, from an acquisition standpoint, have such great relationships with the appraisers that you can still get an appraisal done in a relatively short
they have
period
them on
of
their
time.
own staff. That's
Yeah. The only times I've really seen much of a delay might be with city inspectors.
Yeah.
Occasionally, and some subcontractors get so busy that it can take a little bit of time.
Good question.
Good question.
Go for it, Terry.
So when
He
you,
has a lot of questions, by the way. My seminar, he has 12,000.
at least,
He's an engineer, that's why.
I know.
yes,
Got to
sir,
know how the sausage is made.
very carefully. When you invest in like San Antonio, how do you know what needs to be done to the house? I mean, somebody take videos? How do you
Good
do
question,
that?
Terry.
Yeah, good question. All the above. So you'll learn you'll learn about these email blasts and that the agents send out, and that's kind of the cool thing is that when an agent sends out a property to see if who might be interested, that's they've already vetted that, right? So they've make sure the numbers work, and many times the house has already been looked at by a contractor. So, and a lot of the contractors that work with Lifestyles know what we want to do to these properties, and so that's how they put the bids together. And so you kind of know, even from that initial email blast, what needs to be done. And then for me personally in San Antonio, I've developed good enough relationships over the last couple of years with several contractors down there that they'll run by and take a look and kind of confirm what needs to be done. And if the numbers work, we just do the deal.
She has some online ones. Go ahead.
All right. Suzanne has a question about
Hold up higher.
where did you first pull the funds from to get started? And if you don't mind sharing, how much did you start with?
So yeah, good question. So the funds that I pulled from were from basically a savings account that I had built up to a fairly significant amount over 20 plus years of working. I think when I started, I had a couple $100,000 to start with, and everything told me skip single family, go straight to multifamily because that's where you can scale. But for me, I wanted to learn, and my initial plan was to buy a couple of single family properties, go the rest passive, just to immediately get in the game and have immediate cash flow. But here I am, 8 houses later, I'm still kind of doing this. Did I answer the question?
The problem with houses are they're addicting.
Yep.
They're like cheddar chips. You can't eat one, you end up eating a whole damn jar when you shouldn't have, and that's why you're a fat ass now.
But yes, but you don't need a couple $100,000 to start.
Yeah.
You don't.
I always tell people what's the minimum you need to buy a house? At least how much? At least 30 grand. Focus on that first house, guys. Great question.
So you went straight to PIG then, since you had enough to do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
and so you used LU contractors, and did they stay on budget?
They did. They stayed on budget. I always build in a little contingency, right? Things come up, things happen. So that was kind of always part of the deal. But yeah, every single one of them has stayed on budget.
And one thing I teach you guys is, let's say you determine your rehab's going to be $30K. I always say get an extra 10% on top. There are the what ifs in life. So
Right.
It's smart to always raise an extra 10%. Great question. I have one more way in the back. I just want to get exercise. I see you back there. He has a beard. I'm getting the beard question first. That's a very good beard, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate that. My question is, why did you trade up? You sold one and trade up. Why not just put that right into the multifamily? Why end up with 8 houses? I mean, I know it's like addictive and all that, but is it just the cash flow, the immediate cash flow you got from the houses, or was you were worried about learning how to do it before you really got into it, or?
So a combination. I wanted the immediate cash flow. Some of the multifamily deals from a passive standpoint can take, depending on what kind of deal you get in, but they can take a year or so before they start paying you distribution. So I wanted some of that, but I also wanted some immediate cash flow. I wanted to learn about renovations and kind of what goes into it. I felt like that'll make me a better multifamily investor at some point down the road. In terms of why I traded up from the one that I sold into, a duplex and another single family home, part of the 1031 exchange and some of the timing, I ran out of time, quite frankly, and just needed a place to park some money. So that's what I did.
One last one here. This is the most important one of the evening. Go.
Yeah, my question is, when the agent send you properties, how do you do it? Do you evaluate it or you just call your mentor and how do you know it's a good deal?
Great question.
Great
How do you
question.
determine what's a good deal for you?
Well, so there's obviously certain criteria that I had going into it in terms of what I wanted from a return on capital gains percentage. So you remember when we looked at the property that we were highlighting tonight, you saw the 100% return out of the gate. So I wanted a 100% return. And on the cash on cash, basically what I make, what I net every month from the monthly rents, I wanted at least a 20% return cash on cash. And so if it's that close to that, I'm tagging a property. I'm responding back to my agent, saying, "Hey, I'm interested."
So for you, the numbers told the story. There was no emotion. He didn't care if it's big picture up or little. It's, can I make a 20% return?
Yeah.
That's what his goal was.
Do you have questions?
I do have Quest. Yeah, I do. Obviously
Quest is our analysis tool
it's an analysis tool.
for single-family properties.
It's not required to have it for those that aren't familiar with what Quest is. When the agent sends you the email blast, it comes from Quest, so you'll see the numbers. For me, it was a learning experience and the ability to kind of run my own numbers and compare them with what the numbers of the agent are and see if it kind of makes sense. So. No. Well, I had it after I joined Lifestyles. So I joined kind of similar to Chris. I joined Lifestyles on the 5th of May, and by the 29th of that same month, I had purchased that first property down in Houston. And somewhere in between is when I got hooked up with Quest. And I don't know, before that first purchase, I probably ran my own calculation on 25 different properties just to become familiar with it and the process of it. Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for being here.
Yeah,
You're
thanks for
obviously
having me
slaying
again.
it.
Yeah,
Give him a
I love
hand.
it.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Thanks, guys.